Welcome, everybody. This is Ryan Staley, and I am back, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Mike Haylon. Mike is the GM of AI Studio over at Asana. Mike's done some amazing things. First of all, he's been in enterprise sales for 20 years prior to this role switch, which I was telling him he looks way younger than he should for being in that space at that time frame, if you will. So congrats to Mike on that. But just recently got shifted over to the GM of AI Studio over at Asana. Love what Asana is doing. Love his background and his experience in integrating go to market with AI usage. And so I thought he would be a great guest to have on the show. Mike, welcome. Happy to have you on the show, man.
All right, thanks so much. And for the kind words as well. I'll take it.
No problem. No problem. I mean, I looked at your stats and I don't like to have people on that don't make shit happen. You were making shit happen over at Asana. That got you on my radar. Then you got like promoted into this new role. So walk us through what you're doing and what you're focused on now, because it's like perfect for what my audience is like really laser focused on, and that's elevating go to market with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Asana, as many companies, has delved fully into AI. We launched a product back in November called AI Studio. It's just gotten incredible demand and created a ton of excitement and energy amongst our customer base. And so I was fortunate to be tapped to step into this role, really leading go to market for this particular product line. So we are building an AI Studio specialist team that will be experts in Asana AI and our workflow automation, no code workflow automation builder, what we call AI Studio. And much like some might be familiar with Salesforce, we are launching a overlay or co-prime model here where we have account executives, account teams that work directly with customers, and they will leverage our team as they would a solution engineering team
Mhm.
to offer expertise in this particular product line for customers to help make sense of all that is around AI, how AI Studio fits in the broader landscape of AI generally, how to everything like how our credits work and how to take a really complex manual process now and turn it into really automated lean processes we've seen many customers do already with this product.
That's definitely the way to go, man. So I noticed that you and your organization were prime movers or took a leadership position, at least that put you on my radar. Like obviously I've been focused on this for over 2.5 years. And I saw Asana as one of the bigger companies that took kind of an early adoption approach to integrating AI into what they're doing and to go to market. So can you start with that? And would love to hear just like how it kind of came about for you creating a separate product or a separate almost like business unit specifically focused on. But love to hear how you implemented it internally first and then like what kind of results you're getting along the way.
Totally, yeah, and we certainly appreciate being seen as a pioneer. We like to think about ourselves that way. We have an incredible CEO who's had the foresight to, build a product that lends itself really nicely to taking advantage of, this transformation. And we saw that happening internally as there was hunger for AI adoption, but maybe as is with any transformation, some trepidation about exactly how to do it. As we started to, through a hackathon, build a product that we thought could really deliver value around AI. One of the biggest impediments that our own Think Lab has clearly established to going through any transformation is people's lack of desire for change. And so we wanted to, as we really tried to do in every instance, is take a human-centered approach to the way we build products, the way we go through transformation, the way we establish our culture. And in this instance, I think we envisioned a world where human and AI work really collaboratively together. And that was where we started. We saw people exploring problems they wanted to solve with ChatGPT, just like everybody else. In fact, a VP from HP, I thought, who's a customer of ours in AI Studio specifically, put this great, where he said, this was our experience as well, whereas it was cool to have a sandbox that was ChatGPT where people playing around with different things, but AI Studio has really helped bring the professionalize and operationalize that sandbox into, a business workflow automation. And that was really what we set out to do and make it really approachable for people along the way. So we surveyed for real problems that people wanted to solve. We took examples of things that they were already doing through ChatGPT and just embedded AI within our no code workflow builder and started to empower them through education materials and sessions that we ran internally on how they could do this themselves without having to lean on IT or having to lean on our eng team to build anything for them. And it really turned a experimentation into with Claude and ChatGPT into a real tangible business impact examples that happened pretty quickly. Even within my team, I was no different than everybody else, to feeling the same way about this transformation. But I had a problem that we had to solve, which was just the amount of time it was taking for us to prep for calls. I think through the education that I was getting by leaning in and joining a couple of these sessions, and just having a desire to learn, I was able to kind of establish this transformation ourselves. And we in short amount of time launched this POV creator, which essentially built a workflow around amalgamating lots of information from within Asana and other systems that we use and integrate with into a simple template that we built, and prompts we use to inform the context for that template for what we wanted it to know. So now, in any instance, for a first call with a customer to a deeper, more intensive executive business review, AEs can tap into this workflow with a click of a button, simply provide the customer link to within Salesforce, the account plan within Asana, and get back a really clean depiction in minutes, that would have otherwise taken them many hours to put together.
Nice, man. Love that. How big is the go-to-market team as a whole?
The sales team, account executives are about 160 worldwide, and then you can imagine all the kind of supporting teams behind that. So we're in the 400 to 500.
Okay. Excellent. So big group. So how long would you say it took you initially to have that transformation for the whole team or the whole org, like in terms of months, where you're like, hey, we've gone from AI experimenters to like fully AI adopted, right? And this is just on the internal side first, and then I want to get deeper into like what you built as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. I don't want to paint for people that this thing happens overnight. I mean, you work with customers every day, and I'm sure see every different flavor of this. And there are
Mhm.
companies that are more and less mature. And in fact, the team that I mentioned, the think tank that we have internally, we call our innovation lab, work innovation lab specifically. They have an annual report that we release every year, and the most recent one focused on AI transformation, and it showed kind of the scale of where companies are at from 1 through 5 or 6 stages about AI maturity and likelihood of transformation. And 18 months ago, we were, right at the beginning of that, which is really where every company starts, is maybe interest, but trepidation, some early adopters, but largely, people who were not leaning into and wanting to take advantage of AI applications. And I think over the course of an 18-month period, I think we slowly kind of went through the transformation that I just described, starting with people, and sharing examples. In fact, someone on my team right now who leads strategy and operations, he came into Asana 3 years ago as a BDR. And he
Mhm.
just really took a deep interest in this. He built bots himself around prospecting, and I can elevated himself into the role that he's in now, leading strategy and ops for AI Studio, because he had resources that were accessible to him, education that we were providing, and he took the initiative himself. And so, not everybody's there yet. There are still other sides of the spectrum, or people who probably haven't deployed a bot themselves, or you taken advantage of a workflow within Asana. But we have a good portion of the company now really engaged, having used AI application, having used and solved real problems with AI in ways that they were not doing certainly 18 months ago, and for many not even 6 months ago. And in Q1 of this year, it's really just taken off. I think inevitably, as our account teams get into these conversations with more customers, they get the confidence to start to understand and pitch the value behind this. They themselves, start to play with it more, have conversations around it more, and you see that momentum build from there. And I think this will only continue to go faster. But it really starts with being willing to, from both the top and bottom, find ways to encourage people to and excite them around change, why they should care, ways that they can solve problems of their own, and to show how easy and approachable it can be if they're willing.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like it's a journey, right? So I agree with you. It's not like a bolt of lightning, right? It's more like working out or eating healthy over a long period of time, and you get that compounding value, right? Like Atomic Habits with James Clear, where he's like, you get 1% better every day. That's a 37x improvement over the course of a year. And so that's kind of what I think of with this. But like, what would you say? Because I'm sure you look at this both internally and externally when you're dealing with customers for AI Studio. Is like, what do you get around, or what do you see as the best either belief breaking pattern or areas that'll get people to actually change their behavior? Because I'll give you some perspective that I have from working with so many different
Please.
companies, but would love to hear your take on it, and then I'll chime in as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I think this is no different than sales from the dawn of time. The best way to inspire and help create change is to put it in their terms. And so, when you and I were chatting prior to the start of this, and you asked me to, what are outcomes that you deliver, I think you might have noticed the first thing I did was ask you about a problem that you have.
Uh-huh.
Because I could go talk about relatable examples, and certainly we have those. But I think the best way we found is to put it in your terms. And so, in our case, that is, of course, sharing examples of other similar customers that have solved these problems that they have. But it also means getting a deeper understanding of a way they do a thing today and helping them feel that there is a better way to do it, and hopefully in a way that feels simple and approachable and not overwhelming. And so generally, I think the way to do that is through, I've encouraged everyone globally to on our account teams just to understand one use case really, really well, use case for AI Studio specifically, because if they can do that and they can speak confidently to that, a lot of the workflows that we help automate are very similar. It's intake of work, it's planning for that work, it's execution of that work, and then ultimately reporting on that work. So if you understand one, you can understand many, and that confidence can then carry into the customer. That can help them feel more open and willing to share their problems, to answer questions that you have of them. And now all of a sudden you get to put it on their terms. And I think the next step we need to continue to take is to make that easier and easier for the field to be able to do at scale, to speak directly to the customer personas that they're working with, and then to enable their success through presentation, demo, storytelling, or otherwise. But I think the simple answer is to put it on their terms.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my perspective, so I think that's good. Obviously, like custom relevancy, customized, specific to them, because that's when you get people's attention. I think the other thing is, and we're as we Ted Lasso, right? Have the memory of a goldfish, which is like what attention span of 7 seconds, or I think it's with TikTok, it's probably like 3 now that people have. So what I've seen is like there's got to be some kind of instant or really quick, fast, short term result that gives them the belief that it's worth continuing to focus on. And I think with that, like what I see is like if you show them something that took them 3 hours that they could do in 20 minutes, then you start to get people's attention really quick, and then it compounds, right? However, on the other side, the thing that I'm starting to see is culture. I'm seeing gaps in folks that I work with that have really good leadership culture that don't. And there's like night and day differences with adoption. And that's pretty wild, right? Like that I've seen. And so that's another thing. And like leaders really have to lead and be like walking the walk themselves, because otherwise the adoption doesn't happen. So I don't know if you see the same thing on your side, but that's something that's been like hit me in the face lately with folks.
No, it's spot on. I think our research shows that you need it to come from top down and bottoms up, but that the those that are most likely to delegate work, and delegate work really meaning in historically it's been to other people, but in this case it's to AI, are executives. And they're accustomed to that. They almost have a necessity to do it. And I think those that are embracing that are leaning in, and in fact, one great example we have is a large dental manufacturer out in Europe, where the CEO had hired a team of subcontractors, was spending $1 million a year on essentially taking POs that the sales team was delivering and reading through these multi-page documents, and taking the fields out and inputting them into columns within a view into Asana. He's spending $20,000 to do that today, and has now been able to shift these subcontractors into more strategic, elevated work than they were prior. And I think that's an example of the kind of power that this can deliver. But it took the CEO, identifying a problem that he had, believing that there was a better ways through AI,
Uh-huh.
and in fact, in this case, actually going and testing it out himself.
Excellent, man. Well, I love that example, Mike. We're going to wrap for today because unfortunately we're up on time. Where can people find you? Where can they find more about Asana AI Studio, and then we'll wrap and have you back for part 2.
Yeah, Asana is very easily found. You can just asana.com. We'll take you right to our website, and we have a litany of resources there for you to learn more about Asana and Asana AI specifically. You can, of course, always download and use the product on your own. And for me, I'm on LinkedIn. My dad shares the same name, so he's been getting lots of LinkedIn requests lately. Michael Haylon at Asana, the title's GM of AI Studio.
Excellent, Mike. Well, thanks for being on the show. And next episode, we're going to go through, I want to actually see like examples or screenshots of AI Studio. I think it'd be fantastic. So that's what we're going to cover on the next one. Thanks for being on. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you all on the next episode.
Appreciate you having me, Ryan.